All right, part two to that episode. Let's get into D and Wayne. D, you are still salty about the fact that Tamara had moved on with Wayne. You salty about it. But at the end of the day, you still messing around with Momo. You still messing around with Raquel. And then you also have Diera. So D, Tamara is not the issue here. Now I understand that with Tamara, the fact that she did leave you for that pastor, she left you for Trey, and she left in the situation with Zeus. I completely understand, and we also got to go back to the fact that Zeus actually ended up, doing something to him. So I absolutely do understand why Tamara and Dee had that connection, and Tamara needs to tell Wayne that. She need to tell Wayne the real reason they have that connection. The real reason why Dee and Tamara will always be connected is because of the situation with Zeus and what happened, and the fact that I think she feels guilty because she is the reason that he got shot. So there's going to always be that type of, connection because of that. Because I think she still feels guilty because she's the reason that happened. So, of course, she's going to always be there for D. But as far as their relationship is concerned, no. They should have never got back together after that happened. They should have never got back together. Because Tamara should have told him everything that was going on in that situation. And she basically, essentially, did not. So I don't think they should have got back together. Because at the end of the day, she is trying to change her life for the better. D is still going to remain in the streets, and their relationship ain't never going to work because of it. So I just think it's best that these two don't get back together. As for Momo wanting Tamara out of the business, he did try to get Tamara out of the business. But like I said, Tamara and D will always be connected on a spiritual level because of that situation. They just will be. And does that mean that they should be together? Not necessarily. But sometimes situations like that do tie people together. So there is a thing called soul ties. So these two will always, as far as soul ties, be connected. But they're like star-crossed lovers that even though they love each other, even though they if D was to get out the game and get himself together and take this music thing to the level that it needs to be, or whatever it is that he wants to do as far as outside of the game, if he would realize he could help people more so by not being in the game than being in the game, then I could see these two working. But D's not understanding that. Even when Diana told him that his mother lost everything because of this situation and his dad is sitting in prison, he's still not grasping it's time to get out the game. He's not understanding. So when Wayne told him, look, I was you. I was a person that used to be there. And I got out. Because at one time you couldn't get out of the game. Except by death or jail. That was the only way you were getting out. If you were a mobster and you said you wanted out, oh, you was not getting out. You literally had to go, in witness protection to be able to be safe. And even then you weren't safe. Nowadays you can get out. All you got to do is just walk out. And that's it. So that's the only thing that you really have to do. You don't have to stay in. You can leave, go somewhere and start over and take all that money you made in drugs and start over. If you look at what happened in Power, the only reason that Ghost didn't survive was because of Tyreek, but we all think he's still alive. And I think in the end of all these series, it's going to come out that he's alive, but it's another conversation. But same thing, Ghost wanted out. And Tasha wanted him to stay in. And he was like, no, he wanted out. And he got out. He's somewhere probably on the island, somewhere chilling, somewhere in a where they can't get your district. That's probably where Ghost is at. But in the end, like I said, the same thing with Trill. How long you gonna be in the game? Because now drugs are in a facility now. Ganja cannabis, hemp, whatever you want to call it, is now in dispensaries. You can go to the dispensary and get it. All you gotta do is have a medical card, and you can go get it from the dispensary. So at the end of the day, like I said, yes, there are people out here that still do cocaine, heroin. They still do that stuff, but it's not as many people anymore. As a matter of fact, there was somebody that said the younger generation is not drinking as much no more. They don't drink like that because they realize that alcohol messes with your lungs and kidneys. These kids ain't playing. They trying to live. I ain't mad at them. I wish my generation had social media, but we didn't. So I completely, understand Wayne's perspective. But Mike, you can't defend D on this one because you just as bad. Even though you used to be in the game. You of all people should understand because you used to be in the game, which is the reason why your brother Ralphie had to do 8 years because you got caught. Ralphie was getting ready to go to the NFL when you did what you did. And you still act like you don't appreciate that. But that's a whole nother conversation. But like I said, if Jocelyn can get out and make, multiple businesses, D can do the same. D just don't want to, and that's the problem. And with girls like Momo, they don't help. They just make things worse. De'Ara gonna be the only one that's gonna be able to get him out the game and keep him out. Because by him going to church, he gonna realize he need to get out. Because there's a way to help people without doing all of that. Like I said, make your money, get out. Build a business at the same time, and then when it take off, get out. But you're gonna have to leave where you at to do it. You can't do it where you at, because you just can't. You gotta go somewhere else. That's your best bet. Because the one thing about your enemies, they're not gonna forget what you did. And once you are where they have access to you, that's when they'll pretty much destroy you. I have family members that used to be in the game, so I know this all too well. But when it comes to, like I said, these Kountry Wayne skits, these things hit home to a lot of people because this stuff actually literally does happen. But when it comes to healing and recovery to it all, you can't stay in the same position, keep going through the same thing, dating the same type of men, having the same mentality because you're going to get the same result. It's just not going to change. It never will until you do. It ain't about whether somebody else change or not. You got to change. So I'm not mad at Tamara because Tamara made a choice to be with Wayne. I'm not mad about it at all. Because in the end, like I said, she realized that D's never going to change. And he's not. Even when she met D, D was messing around with a whole nother female when he met her. A whole nother female. The one that we just seen, dark-skinned girl, seen her a few times, and then she was gone. And she was his bottom. So, like I said, I just tell people you can't, necessarily say that, you know for sure how something gonna be. Because you don't. So, that's why I say when it comes to these, situations, they can go anyway. But I don't have to come on here every day and talk about these Kountry Wayne skits. I just talk about the Kountry Wayne skits based upon specific topics because that's going to be the topic for the day that I'm going to speak on. But other than that, I don't have to. But at the end of the day, like I said, Wayne is slowly getting his karma. And at the end of the day, do I see Amber and Anthony surviving? No. Do I see Amber and Shayla getting back together? Yes, because Anthony, at the end of the day, really cannot get mad because Shayla has moved on because he made his choice. And he got to live with it. So even though he's not thrilled about the fact that Shayla has moved on, he ain't got no choice but to accept it. He made a choice. That, or if things don't work out between Piari and Rome, I got a feeling that something going to happen with Piari and Rome at the same time as Iman and Delicia and all of that coming out. And I will not be surprised if Rome and Shayla end up together. I won't be surprised at all. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, Piari going to end up losing Rome. But I think it's going to be right at the same time as Delicia and Iman when they come out. And somehow them two going to end up bonding. Or it's going to be Amber and Rome. Or somebody. But either way it go, it's going to be somebody in Rome. But it ain't going to be Piari.